Would you like to earn a lot more money? And are you open to being rich? If so, you have definitely come to the right place. My name is T. Harv Eker, and welcome to my web class, Zero to Multimillionaire. I truly appreciate you spending your time with me here today. And my intention is that you not only get a ton of value out of this, but that your life may actually change, for the better, of course. I encourage you to listen very closely and stay to the end, because by the end of this class, you're going to recognize a lot of things you may be doing that are actually preventing you from success. And more importantly, you'll know specific strategies to use instead, strategies that can actually produce real wealth in your life. So I invite you to pay very close attention, almost as if your life depended on it, because financially for many of you, it actually might. So if you have your cell phones out, or email open, or Skype open, or anything else around you that could possibly distract you, please do yourself a favor and just put it away for now. I'm about to share with you several difference makers, principles that actually make the difference between getting rich and staying middle class or broke. So thank you for doing that. Now, for those of you who don't know me, is it okay if I tell you just a little bit about myself and why you might consider listening? I did not say believing. I said listening to what I have to say with all humility. I went from broke and borrowing $2,000 on my credit card to becoming a millionaire in only 2.5 years. I also opened the largest retail fitness chain in the entire world. I founded what was the largest personal success training company in the entire world. I have marketed over $500 million worth of product. I happen to be the author of the #1 New York Times, #1 USA Today, and #1 Wall Street Journal bestseller, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, which has sold over 2 million copies and is in 39 different languages. I currently have well over 1 million students, and my courses are being taught in 35 different countries all around the world without, and I repeat, it's a big one, without me being there. And most importantly, I never, ever have to work another minute in my life if I don't want to. Sound good? Well, it's great now, but I can still remember when it wasn't great. In fact, I can remember when it was a complete disaster. I grew up with parents that came from Europe. They were in the war. And so when I was young, I was taught that money means survival. Survival. It doesn't mean new clothes, a hot new car, a new boat. It means survival. If you had a lot of money, you lived. If you didn't have a lot of money, you died. It was as simple as that. I left school after first year of college because I wasn't a millionaire yet. And over the next 10 years, I went through 14, let me say that again, 14 different jobs and 12 different businesses. And I was constantly broke. I remember always having to make a choice between putting $5 worth of gas in my car or eating dinner that night. I'll tell you what, it was a horrendous way to live, and trust me, I tried everything, but I just could not create success with anything I did. And it wasn't like I wasn't trying to learn as well. I mean, I was. I read all the books. I listened to all the tapes. I went to all the major seminars. But nothing that they taught me seemed to work for me. I ended up moving back in with my parents and living in their basement because I was broke again. Then by, I guess, a stroke of luck or good fortune or serendipity, I met a friend of my father's that was over at my parents' place, and they were playing cards. And he said that he heard that I was broke and depressed and that I couldn't make a decent living. I said, "Where'd you hear that?" He said, "Your father." I said, "Oh, thanks a lot, Dad." Anyways, he then proceeded to give me some advice that was to change my life. He said, And please listen closely. He said this. He said, Harv, if you're not doing as well as you'd like to be doing right now, all that means is that there is something you don't know. Now, being a brash young man at the time, I thought I knew pretty well everything. But obviously that wasn't so because of my results, remember? And so, for one of the first times, I actually listened. He said, don't you realize that rich people tend to think and do things the same way as each other? And then he asked me what I wanted to do. And I said, well, I want to get rich. And he said, in what arena? I said, in business. And he said, so why don't you study rich business people and see what they did and what they do? You know what? I don't even know why I never thought of it before, but I never did. And it just seemed to make sense at the time. It was one of those things. You know what I'm saying? Plus, there wasn't much else going on. So I spent the next 6 months and I devoted myself to studying rich people. And in fact, I did find many, many similarities and principles they seemed to use, especially when it came to business. So I borrowed $2,000 on my credit card and I started a new business and I put these principles to the test. And all I can tell you for sure is that they worked. I opened one of the first retail fitness stores in the world, and I ended up opening 10 more stores in only 2.5 years, and I became a millionaire. And of course, I got myself a car finally, and I got myself a house finally, and I got myself some decent clothes finally. And people who I'd known from before, well, they started asking me, hey, what did you do? They said, what the heck happened? I mean, when I knew you, you were broke. You never had any money. You were always bumming rides because you didn't have a car. Now you're pretty well rich. How did this happen? So I began sharing some of the principles that really made the difference for me between when I was broke and when I became comparatively rich. And this seemed to really resonate with them because they were making some of the big mistakes that I had made. And the information made a huge difference in their lives too. So, needless to say, I've continued to learn more and earn more, and of course, teach more now. As they say, hindsight is 20/20, and so I can really see the difference between who I was and what I used to think and do when I was broke versus now that I'm a multi, and I can go on for a few minutes, millionaire. So that's what you're here to do today. That's what we're here to do, to learn some of those critical differences, because my guess is that many of you are in the same position that I was. Not necessarily broke, but maybe not as rich as you'd like to be either. So let's talk about just a few of the lessons that I learned that made the biggest difference for me, and I pray, will make the biggest difference for you too. Let's go with number 1. Very simple. Own your own business. Now you may do that now, you may not do that now, but whatever it is, if you own your own business now, this may reignite you or give you some other clues if you were thinking otherwise. Let me ask you this question. In your opinion, what's the best way to make sure you win a game? There's a lot of good answers, but here's the best one that I know. How about make the rules and be able to change the rules whenever you want? You're pretty sure to win the game, right? Remember, I had 12 businesses, but I also had 14 different jobs. So I really was pretty unsure about which way to go, especially when my businesses weren't doing well. I always went back to a job. So I was wondering, should I go the job route? For sure, more security, less risk, a steady paycheck, you can probably sleep well at night. Or should I go back to owning a business? More risk, but definitely more upside. Well, after all these years and after all these trials, I can safely say that for me, it's not even close. What I actually realized was that I was and am unemployable. Hence, going through 14 jobs before I realized that. I just cannot work for someone else. I don't know, I guess I must have a problem with authority, but I'm just not good with other people telling me what to do, what I can do, and what I can't do, when to come, when to go, when to pee, when to whatever. You know what I'm saying? I think you know what I mean. And I don't know about you, but I like to be in charge of my own life. I also really enjoy being creative and coming up with ideas and being able to implement those ideas without having to get some kind of approval from some higher up or go through an entire political process to get something done. What I especially like about owning your own business is that you have put yourself in a position where creating wealth is at least possible. Now, think of it this way. You know, tennis. Everyone's watched tennis, played tennis, whatever. But if you're playing tennis and the ball is way over here, okay? And so the first thing you have to do if you're going to hit the ball is, if you're way over there, you've got to get yourself in position to be able to hit the ball. You can't hit a good shot from way back over there. There's no way. Well, it's the same with wealth. You have to give yourself a chance, and your best chance comes with your own business. You know, the research shows that 90% of all self-made millionaires did it in their own business. Why? Well, let me tell you why. Because of what I call wealth rule number 1. Make sure you memorize this. You write this down. You print it on your forehead, on your mirror. Wealth rule number 1, and here it is. No limits on your income. I will repeat that. No limits on your income. Here's the problem. If you are in a job, or you get paid a set salary, or even any situation where you get paid by the hour, that means you are being paid for your what? Your time. And of course, here's the challenge. There's only 24 hours in the day. And since time and your time is limited, your income becomes what? Limited. And you've broken the most important rule of wealth. Again, no limits on your income. Listen, I'm not saying you can't get rich with a job. You know, if you happen to be the CEO of one of the largest companies in the country, sure, maybe you can. You probably will. It's also very possible to become financially free with a job, as long as you are a great, let me repeat, a great money manager and a great investor, which of course most people aren't. But again, you can get free. I just wouldn't count on getting rich. None of this is to say that every single person is cut out to own their own business, though. You know, the fact is, some people just aren't. They're just not built for it. Not that you can't learn, but if someone needs, I repeat, needs to fit into a structure that's already there, and they do need constant direction from someone else, and they prefer security over wealth, then they truly might be better off with a good job. And you know what? Good on them. Good on them. I truly wish them, I truly wish, if that's you, I wish you all the best. It's just not for me or anyone else who really wants to get rich. So bottom line, when I was broke, I was going back and forth between job and business and job and business, etc., etc. Now that I'm rich, however, I would never even consider a job. In fact, I'm already semi-retired, and I only work once in a while because all my businesses run without me. But you know what's funny? I do get offered jobs all the time. And you can imagine it's for big money. And it's funny, I always say the same thing. I say, no thank you. I have a job allergy, you see. I actually start sneezing and breaking out in hives. I become depressed. So thank you so much for your offer, but I'll tell you what, your business sounds great, and if you're looking to sell it, let's talk. The truth is, I actually don't say that I have a job allergy out loud, but it's true. It's true, because job and rich, they don't go together. Let me repeat that. Job and rich do not go together. But Harv, don't you know that 80% of all new business startups fail in their very first 3 years? Yeah, I think I've heard that. And there's a reason that they fail. Here it is. Those people don't know what they're doing. And they're probably doing everything that I did that didn't work. What I know for sure is there are ways to do business that actually work in the real world and ways to do business that actually do not work in the real world. And you have to know the difference. And from my experience and with my students, the results are just the opposite, actually. 80% succeed in their business, and the others, they don't continue because they found this particular business didn't suit them, and so they close that one down and they start a newer one. They don't fail at it, they just go, you know, it's not for me, this one would work better. So we're going to cover a lot more about that a little bit later, but for now, let's get to the key lesson here. So broke Harv had jobs. Rich Harv owns businesses. I'd like to offer you something called a declaration. I do this in my live seminars, but let's do it together too. Why not? It's very, very worthwhile, I find. It's simply a statement that you're going to make out loud. And what it does is it actually sends a vibration through your entire body that is in alignment with what you want to ingrain into you. Here's your declaration. I own my own business because I choose to be rich. Would you repeat that with me? Let's play. Let's just have some fun. I own my own business because I choose to be rich. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to take one hand, take another hand, give yourself a high five and say, I'm amazing. All right, good job. All right, so you've never done anything like this on a webinar. I understand, but whatever, you know, it works. Doesn't hurt to say you're amazing, does it? Because you are. All right, let's get to the second point here. Here it is. Here it is. Focus, focus, focus. As I mentioned, I think, I went through 12 different businesses. What I didn't mention was that I actually had 4 businesses at one time. I had a line of novelty t-shirts that was actually going pretty well. And then a friend of mine, he showed me these very unusual hats. They actually had stuffed animals on them, and they were very, very cool. They were fun, and he said, hey, Harv, you know, you're already going out there, you're already visiting all these shops. Why not carry this line of hats and show them this line too? And you can then pass by some schools and the universities, you know, and clubs, and you're going to double your income. You know what I said? Sounds good. And what did I do? I got into the hat business as well. A short while later, I discovered this really, really cool line of jewelry. I said to myself, hey, I'm already out there on the road. Maybe I can stop into some jewelry stores and sell them this line, and I could even earn even more money. A few weeks after that, another friend shows up, and he shows me what he's doing. He had these coupon books. And these coupon books gave people discounts on all sorts of things. You've probably seen them. And you can actually save thousands and thousands of dollars if you use them, and it only costs $30. So what do you think I said? Hey, you know what? I'm already on the road, and I'm meeting all these people. I'll just show them the coupon books, and now I'll really be making a fortune. And besides, you know what's going on in my mind? I also thought in the back of my mind that if I had more than one business, it would be safer. It would take the risk out of it, you know, and it would assure me of some kind of success because I always had a backup in case something else didn't work. So what was the result of all this? Well, I went from doing pretty decent to completely broke again. I couldn't understand it. How could more be less? And that's because at the time, I didn't understand something called energy. Bottom line, it takes an enormous amount of energy to get something going, especially at the beginning. Let me give you an example. Imagine a rocket launching, okay? And imagine all the power that it takes to get this thing off the ground. Obviously, all the thrusters have to be facing in the same direction, especially at the beginning for the rocket to escape Earth's gravity, yes or yes. Now, imagine for just a moment, one of the thrusters, let's say it's got 3 thrusters facing down, boom, right? One of the thrusters was facing outward, instead of directly down. It was facing outward. Let me ask you a question. What would happen? Simple. That rocket would go crash and burn. Why? Because it takes massive energy, 1,000% focus in one direction for the rocket to launch successfully. You know what? Same in your business. It takes everything you've got, every resource, every ounce of energy at your disposal to launch successfully. And what did broke Harv do? I dissipated my energies. I scattered my resources. I did not focus, and I crashed. But Harv, if you notice, most rich people, including yourself, have all kinds of things going on. They've got several businesses. They got real estate holdings, stocks. They're diversified. Okay, I get it. Let me say this loud and clear, please. Yes, it's true. Rich people, well, they're usually diversified. Once they are rich, but you do not, I repeat, do not get rich by being diversified. You get rich by being focused, laser focused. Every single person, listen to this closely, please. Every single person who became rich did so in one, I repeat, one arena. One. See, just one arena. Anybody ever heard of Bill Gates? Was it his current real estate holdings that made him rich? No. It was something called his computer software program, right? Those programs did it. That's it. Just one. Have you ever heard of a gentleman by the name of Orville Redenbacher? Where did he make his money? He made his money with a little food called popcorn. That's it. Not popcorn and furniture, just popcorn. And on and on and on and on. And you know what? You got me, okay? Sure, there might be a few exceptions in the world, but trust me, you don't want to be one of them. You're also going to hear people talking about this concept called multiple streams of income. Again, I have over 1 million students, so I hear it all. I mean, I really do hear it all. They'll come walk up to me at a break, go, Harv, what about multiple streams of income? That's great. But again, later, you do that later. If you're trying to work at 2 or 3 or more streams of income at once, you will crash and burn. Besides, why would you even want multiple streams of income if it means working multiple times more? Not only does that not work, you're going to be run ragged. So first thing we have to do is make sure that this term, multiple streams of income, that you really understand what it's supposed to mean. So let's change that term to something that makes a lot more sense. And what we want is multiple streams of passive income. Multiple streams of passive income. And let's start by having one. I repeat, one stream of active income, okay? And that is your business. Your one and only business that you focus 100% on. And yeah, sure. Sometimes it's appropriate to have your job or even an old business going and start a new business part-time, because you know what, that's the only way you can do it and still keep the ship afloat. And you know what, that is really good. You need to keep the ship afloat. You should constantly be earning income. Do not kill off your income. If you have to start something part-time, do it, and do it full on though, as best you can. But as soon as you can, you must get back to one single focus. So you might be asking, well, what did I do after my 4 businesses at once fiasco? Well, first I cried, really. I'm laughing now, but trust me, I cried. And then I actually wrote down the lesson. And then the day I opened my first retail fitness store that I told you about, I made a solemn vow. And my vow was that I, T. Harv Eker, would stay in this one single business until I was either bankrupt or a millionaire, and that I would not change and I would not add anything to it. And you know what? I now attribute my single-minded focus to my success. You see, broke Harv scattered his energies. Rich Harv Rich Harv is laser focused because focus is power. Power is the ability to do and therefore succeed. Got it? So here's your declaration. I focus, I focus, I focus. Please repeat that with me. Here we go. I focus, I focus, I focus. Now give yourself a high five and say, I'm amazing. Okay, I hope you're having a good time. Why not? You know, life's meant to be enjoyed. Yeah, get rich, but definitely be enjoyed for sure. All right, let's go to the third critical lesson and principle here. And here it is. Do what you love. Do what you love. I remember when I was young, my parents, they would ask me what I was going to do when I grew up. I'm sure your parents ask you the same as everybody else asks, right? And I would answer, well, you know what? I'm not sure yet, but when I find something I really love, I'll know it. And you know what? They would actually get upset with me and they'd scold me. Harv, don't be such a princess. You're not a Pollyanna, you do what makes you the most money. Remember, business and enjoyment are different. During the week, you work. And on Saturday night and Sunday, you can enjoy. And that's the way life is. That's real life. Get used to it. And so I did. I looked for business opportunities that could make me rich. I was convinced, let me repeat that. I was convinced that if I could find just the right business at the right time, I'd make millions. In fact, my expertise became in finding today's hottest new businesses, and I was very good at it. I could actually smell a trend in its infancy just beginning to happen. And so I went through business after business thinking that the key ingredient was having the right vehicle. The problem was that I kept finding things wrong with that business, and more importantly than that, I wasn't succeeding anyways. The same business that was working for others wasn't working for me. As I mentioned before, I ended up so broke, I had to move back in with my parents again. Now, I was living in Florida at the time, and they lived up in Canada. And I showed up smack dab in the middle of a winter storm. Now, I happened to be big into fitness myself at the time. I always worked out. I ran like crazy. I used to run between 5 and 8 miles a day along the beach. But when I got to Canada, first, there was no beach, obviously. And second, I couldn't barely walk in the snow, let alone run in it, okay? And so I started looking for fitness equipment that I could buy and use in the house. There was hardly any. And everything that was there was pure garbage. So I said to myself, there's no money in fitness. It's just my hobby, but maybe I'll open a fitness-based business. So first, I can have some equipment to use. And second, maybe I can share some of my passion and knowledge with others and help them along. And so was born the original idea of a home fitness retail store. It wasn't because I was sure to make a fortune in this arena. It was because I was totally into it myself. It was my pastime, my hobby. I loved being in shape. I loved, and I still love, talking about fitness and exercise. I loved reading about it. I loved everything about it. And it was out of sheer frustration of not succeeding in anything else that was supposed to be this hot business that I was actually willing to try. And I said, what the heck? I'll do this just because I like it. And if I make enough to survive, at least I'll survive. At least I'll enjoy it. And of course, as they say, the rest is history. I got rich, and I learned a very, very valuable lesson. And the lesson is that the shoe has to fit. I repeat, the shoe has to fit. In my live seminars, to prove this point, I often ask the participants to take their shoes off, and they oblige, they do. And then I say to exchange those shoes with the person beside them. And they do. And then I say, I want you to then walk in the other person's shoes. And I'll tell you what, it is absolutely hilarious to watch this because nobody nobody can walk like 5 yards without either falling over or sitting back down because their feet hurt so bad. And then I say, how many of you would be willing to walk in those shoes for 8 hours a day, the shoes that don't fit you? And they all laugh and they go, of course not. Who would do that? And I answer, you would. You would. All of you who are in a business or even a job that you don't love. Now again, I'm not saying you have to love every single thing about it. Nothing's perfect that way. You know that. But you do have to at least have a strong interest in the arena. And hopefully maybe even a bit of a natural talent in the arena as a whole. And I don't mean the technician part. I mean the industry, the field, the arena. And so maybe you're not the greatest golfer yourself, but you love golf. Maybe you love books. Maybe you love fashion. Maybe you love furniture. And maybe you love video gaming. Great. Then that's the arena you should be involved in. Why? Well, first, because you're going to enjoy your life more, and I think that's important, and I'm sure you agree with that. But second, because you're going to have much, much more success. You're going to have more success because you'll have more energy, more excitement, and more enthusiasm around this business. And you know what? Enthusiasm is the greatest sales factor in all of existence. I'm going to say that again because people don't really understand this too well and they don't use it. Enthusiasm is the greatest sales factor in existence. Enthusiasm is energy. It is a contagious energy. Your excitement and your energy are transferred to your prospective customers or clients, and they are much, much more prone to buy from you. Now, another reason you're going to succeed is because you will at least stay with that business. I want to give you an example that's been very effective, again, in my seminars. Suppose, for example, that you are on a highway, a freeway, okay? And you are, you know where you're going. You want to get there fairly quickly. What lane would you be driving in? The regular, let's say the right lane, and at least where I'm from, in North America, let's call it the slow lane or the fast lane, the express lane, right? Well, you'd say, I would drive in the express lane. I'm not getting off for a while. I'm going pretty far. Now, that's great. Now, let me ask you another question. What happens if you're not sure where you're going? In fact, you're looking for an exit, an exit. And you're looking for it. You're not exactly sure where it is or what it looks like. What lane would you now be driving in? Well, most people would say, I move over to the other lane, the slow lane, and because I'm looking for an exit, right? And so I don't want to miss my exit. And here's the thing. It's exactly the same when it comes to business, you see. In my experience, so many people are looking for an exit out of their current situation. And it's mostly because they don't love what they do. And if you're one of these people that's constantly looking for a way out, another possibility, another opportunity, something else, you will not be driving in the fast lane. You will always be driving subconsciously in the slow lane because you are looking for an exit. You understand what I'm saying? So it's imperative. You will succeed to a much greater extent simply by being in a business, in the arena that you love. Okay, how do I know what I love, Harv? I'm not all that sure, I'm confused sometimes. I'm just not sure. So let me ask you, what are your hobbies? What are your activities that you do? What are your interests? What do you do in your spare time? What would you do if you did have spare time? What do you talk about? What do you like talking about? Yeah, here's an exercise that I give to my students. At lunchtime, I say, go out at this lunch, and I want you to purchase 3 magazines. And I send them to a very big magazine store. And they do. And when they come back, I ask them, to write down the topics, the subjects of those magazines. And then I ask them, why did you buy those particular magazines? And they answer, because I'm interested in that. And I say, duh, of course. Maybe that's a field to consider. You understand? One of the fastest way to do this, go buy some magazines. Just see what you normally would buy. Though you're not buying those magazines if you're not interested in the topic and the arena. It's a great way to do it. I did that. Anyways, the final clue I'll give you right now is this one. What are you naturally talented at? Not so much a learned skill set, because you could have been talked into doing that a long time ago. Maybe it wasn't your full choice at the time. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about your natural abilities, your natural talents. What are you naturally pretty good at that a lot of others, they might have some challenges with? Are you naturally a good communicator, a good writer, a good speaker? Are you naturally compassionate? Do you have an eye for fashion? Do you have a knack for home renovations? Are you good with your hands? The solving problems turn you on. The solving problems, and is the world of the legal world of interest to you? See, then you can match that together. Whatever it is, it could be a great clue to your passion. Regardless, Brokarv believed that work is work and joy is joy, and the two never go together. Rich Harv now knows that if you don't do what you love, you will hate your life and go broke, and that following your natural joy is the only way to true and lasting happiness and success. So here's your declaration. I know you're waiting for it. I love this one. Here it is. I get rich doing what I love. Repeat that with me, please. I get rich doing what I love. Now give yourself a high five and say, I'm amazing. All right. Are you having fun yet? I hope so. Okay. Here we go. Number 4. You are the root of your success. Let me say it again. You are the root of your success. Remember that I just mentioned that my earlier philosophy was that if I got into the right business at the right time, I was sure to get rich. Well, that led to another major lesson. So I had this belief that all I needed was a hot business concept, something that others were killing it in, and that of course I would too. And I tried, but it wasn't working. You remember that, right? And so finally a friend calls me up from California and tells me about this new business he's in, and he's making a fortune, and that I got to get into this business. I got to jump into it right away and start doing it, and I should do it out east, right? And I remember him leaving the conversation with these exact words. It was like yesterday. He goes, Harv, my friend, welcome to the Wealth Club. And I think you probably can imagine how excited I was. I was like, oh my God, I finally got it. Finally, all my work was going to pay off. Finally, I was going to realize all my dreams. It was now going to happen. Fast forward 5 months. My friend, still killing it. Even more, making a fortune. Me, I'm losing more and more and more money. It's hemorrhaging. And I'm just about broke again. I could not believe it. How could this be? How could I be going bust in the very same business that he was making a fortune in? I remember standing in front of the mirror, wondering what to do next. And then, like a ton of bricks, it hit me. I remember saying to myself, wow, maybe it's not the business. Maybe it's me. I had to take a deep breath because I was getting depressed. I was actually embarrassed. Could it be true? Could it actually be that I was the problem?